Have you recently walked through your house and thought, this just isn't working anymore? Maybe it's the morning chaos, maybe it's the layout, maybe it's that lack of privacy, maybe it's that maintenance or that nosy neighbor down the street. Or perhaps you can't quite put your finger on it yet, but you just know that something about the way you're living right now doesn't feel quite right anymore. What's interesting is that when people start thinking about moving or building a new home, they'll often start talking about the layout, the lack of storage, the need for a home office, or wanting privacy. And those reasons are absolutely valid. What often happens next, though, is when we start digging a little deeper and discover those things are affecting much more than the house itself. They're affecting daily routines, stress levels, relationships, priorities, and sometimes even the amount of quality time we get with the people that we love most. This is actually the first in a short Life and Home series I'm putting together about how homes impact the way we live. So today I want to share 7 signs that you may have outgrown your house, not necessarily because you've outgrown the square footage, but because the home may no longer fit the life you're living today. Hi, I'm Heather Williams. I'm a realtor with Elevate by Drees Homes. I help families build semi-custom homes throughout Middle Tennessee, including Nashville, Franklin, Brentwood, Fairview, and the surrounding areas. If you're interested in building a home, buying land, building on your own land, or simply learning about the home building process here in Tennessee, make sure to like and subscribe because I share new videos and tips to help make the process easier for you. Now, let's jump right into it. So recently I was talking to someone who told me they didn't like the layout of their current home. At first, that sounded pretty straightforward. So I started asking a few more questions to better understand what they meant. As we talked, we discovered the issue wasn't really just about the layout and more about how it was impacting their daily life. The family had recently had a baby. The baby's room is in what used to be the guest room near the front of the house. Because of where this room was located, there were a lot of outside and inside noises, and the baby wasn't sleeping well at all. The other children had to constantly be quiet. Everyone was adjusting their routines around the baby's schedule. Mom was completely exhausted. The kids were frustrated, and what started as "I don't like my layout" turned into a conversation about stress, sleep, family dynamics, future resentment with the children, and overall quality of life. The reason that story stuck with me is because it wasn't just about a bedroom. It was about the ripple effect the home was having on the entire family. And that's sign number 1. Your home creates more stress than comfort. Because a home should make your life easier. And when everyday routines start feeling harder than they should, it's worth paying attention to. Now, stress isn't the only sign. The next one is something I see with growing families, remote workers, and entrepreneurs, and even empty nesters. So thinking of this next sign, one conversation comes to mind that was a couple who both started working from home. When they bought their house originally, neither one of them worked remotely, so having a dedicated office wasn't even on their wish list. Fast forward a few years later, and now they're both taking calls, attending meetings, and trying to focus from different corners of the house. One person had taken over the dining room table, while the other had claimed a small bedroom. And while they were making it work, they were also constantly working around each other. The interesting thing is that they never started the conversation by saying they needed a new home. They just started by saying, "I need a home office," or potentially 2 if possible. Now, we kept talking, and what they really needed was a home that better supported the way they were living today. And that's sign number 2, that someone in the family doesn't have the space they need. And maybe that's a home office, or maybe it's a teenager wanting privacy. Maybe it's space for a hobby or a home gym or a small business. Whatever it is, people often start rearranging their lives around the limitations of their house, and eventually, those limitations begin affecting everyday life. And for a while, that's okay. We all make compromises, but eventually, those compromises start affecting everyday life. Productivity, privacy, peace and quiet, the ability to fully enjoy your home. And that's when people start realizing that they may need something different. Now, this next sign is one I hear all the time, especially from homeowners entering a new season of life. I can't tell you how many times I've heard someone say, "We don't even go upstairs anymore," or "We haven't used that room in years." One conversation that comes to mind is a couple whose children were grown and out of the house. The upstairs sat empty most of the year. The formal dining room rarely got used. Several rooms had basically become storage. At the same time, they were starting to think more about their health, travel, family, and where they wanted to spend their time. Their children and grandchildren now lived in another state, and they wanted to be closer to them. They wanted a home that fit the life that they were living now, not the life that they were living 20 years ago. Nothing was wrong with their current house. It had served them well. But the challenge now was that this season of life, or the season of life that that home was designed for, had now changed. And that's sign number 3. You've started avoiding parts of your home because those spaces no longer serve a meaningful purpose in your life. Now, speaking of life changes, the next sign may actually be the most common one of all. So this one is huge because sometimes the house itself is not the problem at all. The house may be exactly what you needed it when you bought it, but life changes. Maybe you started working from home, or you started a long commute. Maybe you had children. Maybe your children became teenagers. Maybe you're caring for aging parents, or maybe you've become empty nester. Maybe you've discovered new hobbies, new priorities, and suddenly the home that fit your life perfectly 5 or 10 years ago doesn't fit the same way anymore. Not because the house changed, but because you changed. And that's sign number 4. You've changed, but your home hasn't. And honestly, I think that's one of the most overlooked reasons people move. Life evolves, and sometimes our homes need to evolve with it. Now, this next sign is one that people often mistake for wanting a bigger house. And that's not always the case. A lot of people assume moving means they need more space. And that's not necessarily true. Sometimes people just want more privacy. Maybe they want acreage or no HOA. Sometimes they want less maintenance. Sometimes they want a one-level home. Sometimes they want to be closer to work, family, or activities that they enjoy most. And that brings us to sign number 5. You've outgrown the lifestyle, not the square footage. And honestly, I can relate to this one personally. I love the home that we built just a few years ago, and if I could just pick it up and move it somewhere else, I totally would. The house itself is not the issue. What I want now, today, is a larger yard, more privacy, no HOA, and a location that's more convenient for work and where I spend my time. That's a lifestyle change, not a square footage change. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. Now, this next sign is the one that tends to hit people emotionally. I had a conversation with someone recently who told me they felt like their house was just too big. And at first, it sounded like a normal cleaning issue and like the home was becoming too hard to handle. But as we kept talking, it became clear it was really a time issue. Their child was preparing to leave for college, and they felt like every weekend was being spent cleaning bathrooms, maintaining the house, handling projects, and just keeping up with everything that came along with owning a larger home. And suddenly, the conversation had changed because this wasn't just about cleaning anymore. It was about time that they wanted to spend with their child before this chapter of life came to an end, leaving now only a handful of weekends together before she went off to college. So sign number 6 is you're spending more time managing the house than enjoying it and the time with the ones that you love. And that's why this sign is so powerful, because eventually it stops being a conversation about housework and it becomes a conversation about how you want to spend your time. And that's something all of us can relate to. Which brings us to the final sign. So you keep finding yourself daydreaming about a new house on acreage. Maybe it's got a big front porch. Maybe it's got a better overall layout. Maybe it has that privacy you've been looking for, or that one-level home. Maybe it puts you closer to family or gives you that completely different lifestyle than what you're living today. Whatever it is, you keep coming back to that same vision, that same dream, that same idea. And I think that's worth paying attention to, because often those dreams reveal what matters most to us. Now, that's not what looks good online or just what's trendy. It's what genuinely matters to us and the way we want to live our lives. So that brings us to the final sign, sign number 7. You constantly catch yourself dreaming about something different, something better. Sometimes all it takes is for one of these 7 signs to pop up, and sometimes it takes several of them showing up literally at our doorstep at the same time. At the end of the day, a home is supposed to support your life, not become the thing standing in the way of it. Life changes, families change, priorities change, and sometimes our homes need to change with them. If you're here in the Nashville or Middle Tennessee area, or thinking about moving here and you're considering building a new home, building on your own land, or simply exploring what that next chapter could look like, I love to be a resource for you. Feel free to reach out or drop a comment below. And make sure to like and subscribe, because this next video in this Life and Home series is one you don't want to miss. In the meantime, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.